What's going on, y'all? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is your boy Alan C. with a brand new episode of Al You Bugging. Football is upon us. We got college football kicking off. We got college football kicking off today. It's a couple of games on. So first and foremost, thank you for joining. Thank you for viewing this. You see the ticker at the bottom. Follow Al You Bugging on X and Instagram at Al_U_Bugging. So welcome. We got college football kicking off. Like I said, we're gonna start there. We want to listen, or we're going to talk about the Trey Lance move that happened last night. I'm gonna give you my thoughts on that. We also have the final week of preseason that is upon us. I'm not going to break down those games just yet. Because there's a lot of teams that haven't played. They have today and they have games tomorrow. So I'm gonna go ahead and break that down as well. And I've been doing the all division team. If this is your first time watching, where I talk about who I think are going to be the best players in each division. So we're gonna talk about that as well. But I'm going to start here. College football, like I said. There are two top 25 teams kicking off right now. Today, you have the number 14 team, Navy, that is taking on, forgot who they were playing. Look at my schedule real quick. Number 13, Notre Dame takes on Navy. And Caleb Williams also plays tonight at 8 against San Jose State. So those two top 25 teams that are playing, that start their schedule. Mind you, college football doesn't have a preseason. So these teams, these games may not be the most exciting in the first week or two of the college football season. These kids are just ramping up. But I look for Caleb Williams to actually have a great night tonight. And for those who don't know, Caleb Williams was the Heisman Trophy winner and was also won the award for the best quarterback in college last year as well. And his sophomore year. This is his junior year. He no longer has Voorhees up front, no longer has Jordan Addison. Both of those were drafted into the NFL. But he's trying to continue his Heisman campaign. He's rated pretty much everywhere, including here at Al You Bugging as the number one prospect for this NFL draft this season. So we're going to see, how he kicks that campaign off. He should, like I said, make short work of San Jose State. I'll be surprised to see him still playing in the fourth quarter. Not even gonna lie to you. Think the fourth quarter of that game, we'd have seen Caleb's genius, Caleb's brilliance, and like I said, I predict a big day from him. Next Thursday, Florida Gators are playing Utah, and then the following Saturday, college football season is open. So we'll be talking about college football season as well on here. I know I've been dealing with the NFL preseason because that's pretty much all the action that's been going on. But on Tuesday's show, probably more than likely on Tuesday's show, I'll break down the college football weekend, who to look for, who to look at, who are my top guys in college. I'll break that down. But this is the last week of the NFL preseason, and teams are making cuts, trying to get down to the 53-man roster. Cuts are, your final roster has to be completed by 4:00 on Tuesday, New York time, 4:00. So teams are getting trades, trying to get cuts, trying to get workouts done for their final players. Speaking of players getting traded, Trey on the move. Trey Lance got traded to the Dallas Cowboys yesterday. Former number 3 pick, Trey Lance, 49ers, in 2021. He was traded to Dallas for a 2024 fourth-round pick, and they'll pick up his remaining contract and also have the ability to decide on Lance's fifth-year option. He was a first-round pick. He does have a 5-year option before they actually have to pay him a contract. So when he's traded to Cowboys, they pick that up since they taking up on his salary and his contract. San Francisco has washed their hands with Trey Lance. They just get a fourth-round pick back for it. Trey reportedly asked to be traded on Wednesday from San Francisco when they announced that Sam Darnold was going to be the number 2 quarterback. So, he missed that. He didn't go practice that day, and they started talking to teams. He came to the walkthrough on Thursday. Nothing was officially announced. And then on Friday, that's when, Dallas gave them that compensation of a fourth-round pick and cap relief, and San Francisco obliged. They took the deal. So they'll be going forward with Brock Purdy as the starter, and their number 2 quarterback on the roster is Sam Darnold. I think this is a good start for Trey. He can go ahead and learn. He's not expected to be a starter, not expected to be the savior of Dallas. He can actually learn how to play football and play NFL quarterback. He's only thrown 104 passes in his whole NFL career so far. His sophomore year in college was basically the only season he had. That was 2019. So time is moving. It's 4 years later. 2020, he only had one game because of the D2 schools canceling the season because of COVID. So he played one game there. He, 15 for 30, 50%, but he did throw 2 touchdowns. Basically, for all intents and purposes, you technically can't do it, but San Francisco drafted a high school kid. He's Sebastian Telfair at this point. They drafted him basically out of high school. He only played, I think, 5 games his freshman year, the full sophomore year, and then 1 game for his junior year. And, we only got to be removed for 3 years from high school before you can get drafted to the NFL. So he got drafted as a number 3 pick and only played 1 college season. They pretty much drafted a high school kid to play their quarterback. And it definitely worked out for the Dolphins. The Dolphins was the number 3 pick that they traded for. The Dolphins had that pick. And when San Francisco traded them those first rounders, one of those first round picks became Jalen Waddle that they traded him for. Another one of those first round picks went to Kansas City for the pick that became, eventually it became Tyreek Hill. So they definitely worked out so far. So, Dolphins definitely capitalized on the Trey Lance deal. And it's going to go down as one of the most lopsided, draft day trades in history. Even regardless of how Trey's career turns out from here on. Because, like I said, the Dolphins were the ones that won that trade out of the Dolphins in San Francisco. Definitely. So, Trey gets a new start in Dallas as the number 2 or possibly 3 quarterback there. But again, he's not expected to come in and do anything crazy, not expected to come in and be the savior of the franchise like he was at San Francisco. San Francisco was just in the Super Bowl the year before he was drafted. They've been in the NFC Championship the last 3 years now. So he's trying. They thought they could move off of Jimmy Garoppolo and all of his injury concerns. That's why they wanted to bring Trey Lance in. They felt they were actually limited with Jimmy G. They bring in Trey Lance. This guy is supposed to be the future, and we're going to treat him as such. We're going to lock JBG out the building. Trey, this is your team. There's no, this is your team. There's no one looking over your shoulder. Well, Trey Lance had the starting job last year for all of 2 quarters in a monsoon before he actually, was hurt and missed the rest of the year. Brock Purdy came in at the end of the year, played 8 games. They traded for Christian McCaffrey, and they haven't lost a regular season game with Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. So they're pivoting again. Brock Purdy, it's on you. This is your team. Trey Lance is no longer looking over your shoulder for a starting spot. You do got Sam Darnold over there looking over your shoulder. But, if you do what you did last year, you didn't lose your spot. Because, like I said, y'all haven't lost a game at all when you finished it. The only game you lost that you started that has been a loss is because they lost you during the game. And that was against the Eagles in the NFC Championship. So speaking of looking over your shoulder and all of that, it is cut day. Cut day. Again, it's the last preseason game for the Ravens. They are in Tampa Bay tonight, Saturday, August 26th, to play Tampa Bay for the last game in the preseason. So what I'm going to do is try to see who's actually on this bubble, who actually has a great chance of making the team. Let's go ahead and bring this up. Let's start with the quarterbacks. We already know what that is. Quarterbacks are safe. Lamar Jackson, of course, you just paid him $50 million. He ain't going nowhere. Tyler Huntley was a Pro Bowler last year. He ain't going nowhere. But on the bubble, you got Josh Johnson, who's 37 years old, and you got the young kid, Anthony Brown, who's a second-year player. So do you go with the old veteran that's been around the league and multiple leagues for a while? Or do you go with the young kid with potential that hasn't played as well as your other quarterbacks? If I had a pick, I would say have Lamar Jackson, Tyler Huntley, and I'm moving Anthony. Anthony Brown is cut. Josh Johnson is the third quarterback for this team. Running backs. J.K. Dobbins just came back healthy. He's safe. Gus Edwards, even though he played earlier in the preseason, I don't look to see him having any carries. If not, I don't see him having any carries today. But he's still safe. Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins are your top two running backs on the team. You got Melvin Gordon on the bubble, Keaton Mitchell on the bubble, Justice Hill on the bubble. And I put Pat Ricard here with the running backs, even though he's a fullback. Because you definitely want to have a fullback in a Greg Roman offense. His power is 22 base. You want power runs on this team. And Baltimore, I still will predict, will run a power game. But I believe they'll run a quicker version of it, if you will. So that put Pat Ricard in a position of, do you keep a fullback and still keep up with the speed of the game, or lose the speed of the game and just keep strictly power? Or do you have him in here and you just keep you cut him and keep a fourth tight end? So when we get to tight ends, you'll see who's on the bubble there. But Melvin Gordon, Keaton Mitchell, and Justice Hill, I believe, are fighting for one spot for its quote-unquote running backs. And possibly 2 spots. I see Keaton Mitchell having a lot of carries tonight to see if he can actually get that third spot. Melvin Gordon maybe Justice Hill, maybe. I see those three fighting, but I think Keaton Mitchell gets the third spot, and Melvin Gordon get the fourth spot. For wide receivers, definitely Odell Beckham Jr. safe. Rashad Bateman safe. Jay Flowers, Nelson, Duvernay for special teams reasons. Safe. You don't cut your. Devin Duvernay has been a Pro Bowl punt returner for the last 2 years. I don't see them cutting him. But you still got three wide receivers that's on the bubble fighting. I think James Prochet fighting. DeCron Treadwell fighting. Tyler Wallace fighting. I think they only keep 6 wide receivers, and if they keep 6, I think Tylen stays. Now, in tight ends, again, Mark Andrews is safe. Isaiah Likely is safe. Kola and Vokalek are fighting for that third spot. And then right now, I believe it goes to Charlie Kolar. And if you keep a fourth, Travis Vokalek stays. If you don't, Vokalek is gone, and you hope you can put him on your practice squad, and you keep Pat Ricard around. On the offensive line, you got Ronnie Stanley, who stays. He's safe. He's super safe. Morgan Moses, come on, safe. John Simpson, I believe, has taken over that left guard spot. I think he's just started. Kevin Zeitler, safe. That's your right guard starter. Tyler Linderbaum, second year starter. So that leaves Pat McCarry, who I believe is safe, and David Sharp, who's the offensive tackle. Pat McCarry plays everywhere on your offensive line. That's why just a regular old offensive line that's listed. You can't put him at guard, center, tackle. You can't specify because he plays all three of them. David Sharp plays on your tackles. I believe he's safe. I think your bubble players right now are Daniel Faalele, Ben Cleveland, Big Salah, and Sam Mustafa. I believe Ben Cleveland will either be cut or traded this coming week. I don't believe Ben Cleveland makes that 53. I believe Faalele makes it, and Sam Mustafa makes it. Big Salah is going to be a project. He hasn't played well at guard. I don't know why they still left him on the roster as a guard. He just hasn't played well there. So Big Salah, I think he's a cut, but bring back on practice squad. He's a project player. On your defensive line, you got Clowney, Urban, Travis Jones, Justin Madubuike, Broderick Washington, and Michael Pierce, all safe. You're fighting for that last interior spot with Angelo Blackson and Rashad Nichols. Honestly and truthfully, I believe both of them will be cut. I think the people that's unsafe will make the team for the safe. Outside linebackers you have on the roster currently, and that's not on that's not on the pup list right now is Ojabo and Odafe Owe. Bowser's currently on a not able to play list, the pup. So he's not listed here, but he's safe. He's going to keep a roster spot because you're not going to cut him. You're going to hopefully, he can get back before the actual season starts in 2 weeks. But he's a potential IR out for the first 6 weeks, first 6 games type of player. So you pretty much have Malik Ham, Jeremiah Moon, and Tavius Robinson, the rookie that you just drafted, fighting for that third, fourth outside linebacker spot. I know Malik Ham is the Baltimore kid, and he's a fan favorite, but I think Jeremiah Moon has actually played pretty well. He's played well enough to stay on this team. I would see Jeremiah Moon getting a lot of pressure, but we're going to see both of these two guys in action, a lot of it tonight for the Tampa Bay game. All right, interior linebackers, Rowe, PQ, Trenton Simpson. I think all three of them are safe. Malik Harrison has played well. Delson Phillips, I believe, possibly will be on the cut list. Same thing with Welch and Josh Ross. Now, there's potential for them to make the team on special teams, but say as far as the interior linebackers go, I think you keep the three that's on the safe and then Malik Harrison. At your corners, of course, you know who's safe. Marlon, Rock, Ronald Darby, Brandon Stevens, who's your nickel. I think you keep them. JAD, he's fighting. Caillou Kelly, they normally don't want to give up on the rookies this early, but he struggled. Kavon Seymour, I think, has a good chance of making the team as a backup. Daryl Worley and DeAndre Houston Carson. Houston Carson may make it for special teams reasons, but I think really the fight between JAD, Kavon Seymour, and Daryl Worley. Pepe is going to be on the IR. So he's going to make the team, but he's going to be on the IR. And then your safeties, last but not least, your safeties. Marcus Williams and Kyle Hamilton are your starters. Of course, that's safe. On the bubble, you got Geno Stone and Darius Washington. I don't know how many safeties they carry. Do they want to carry all four of them? I think it would behoove them to carry all four. But if one person is the odd man out, judging by this preseason, it's Geno Stone. But I don't see a world where Geno Stone gets brought back and then they cut him. I don't see it. So I think all four of them stay. Yeah, I think all four of them stay. And then, of course, you got Tyler Ott, who's your long snapper. Justin Tucker's the GOAT. He ain't going nowhere. And second-year man Jordan Trout rounds out your special teams. So it's going to be interesting to see who actually finally makes this roster. I'll have that for you on Tuesday's show. Who actually made the roster, who got cut, and any notable cuts around the league. And moving right along. NFC South team. If this is your first time listening, first time checking in, NFC, what I've been doing is throughout the shows, I've been doing all of the divisions and telling you which players, 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 4 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, an offensive line, 4 edge rushers, could be defensive end or outside linebacker, 2 interior defensive linemen, 3 corners, 2 safeties, 2 interior linebackers. Now, I've just been given pretty much a prediction of how I believe it's going to find out as far as these guys being the best at their positions in the league, in their division. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get that up. Y'all know I'm dropping out. I'm putting this full screen for y'all so y'all can see it. It's the all NFC South team. Again, like I said, I'm starting with 2 quarterbacks. First one, Derek Carr. Derek Carr is now on the New Orleans Saints. Last year, before he was asked to leave Las Vegas, threw for 3,500 yards, 24 touchdowns for 15 games. And he was a Pro Bowler last year. To be quite frank, he's the only Pro Bowler in that division. He's the only starter that's been in that division that's been a Pro Bowler in his career. So Derek Carr is the best quarterback in that division for me. All right, so the second quarterback in this division is Baker Mayfield. I don't believe Ritter has shown enough, and Bryce Young hasn't shown anything. And judging by his offensive line, he's going to struggle his rookie year. Just judging by how offensive line has played together so far this preseason, I'm going to go ahead and go with Baker Mayfield until Bryce Young gets it together. But Baker Mayfield is going to be the starting quarterback. Last year, he had, for two different teams, he played in 12 games, 2,200 yards and 10 touchdowns. Nothing to sneeze at, nothing to really write home about. But Desmond Ridder and Bryce Young just haven't shown enough to say that they're better than Baker Mayfield. All right, so the two running backs. First one, I'm going with Alvin Kamara, Mr. All-Purpose. Alvin Kamara had 1,400 all-purpose yards last year. So I'm going with Alvin as my first running back. Second running back, I know I just said that Bryce Young ain't showing anything, but I got Bijan Robinson. I said it during scout season. I said it, and I'm saying it now. Said it during scout season. I'm saying it now. Bijan Robinson is the best offensive player in the draft. Best offensive skill player in the draft. Matter of fact, what else? So I make sure I'm looking y'all right there in your eyes. Bijan Robinson for Atlanta Falcons is the best offensive skill player taken this year. Offensive Rookie of the Year. I'm going to break down who I got winning which award probably next week as well. If not next week, the following week. But I'll give you a sample right now. Bijan Robinson's Offensive Player of the Year. Offensive Rookie of the Year, excuse me. Offensive Rookie of the Year is Bijan. Back to the regularly scheduled program. Pick 4 wide receivers. Come on. Mr. Consistency. Mike Evans. Listen, every year he's been in the NFL, he's had 1,000 yards. Don't matter whether it's Tom Brady or if it's Jameis Winston throwing him the football. I'm quite sure he had 1,000 yards when Johnny Manziel was throwing him the football. Mike Evans is like that. 1,100 yards last year, 6 touchdowns, only 15 games. I'm going with his number 2 as the number 2. Chris Godwin. Last year, Chris Godwin played, I believe he played in all 17 games. He had 104 catches and over 1,000 yards as well. So he had 2,000-yard wide receivers in Tampa Bay. And with Baker, they could potentially be 1,000-yard receivers again this year. Chris Olave, I'm taking as my 3rd wide receiver, rookie campaign. He had 72 catches and over 1,000 yards with 4 touchdowns last year. And another second-year player, Drake London. Going with these 4 is the 4 wide receivers for this division. Drake didn't have as great of a rookie campaign as Chris Olave, but he still did enough to be here on this list with NFC South. All right, so I'm going with 2 tight ends. First tight end, Kyle Pitts. Most people draft him high in fantasy, and he hasn't been healthy enough to really warrant that just yet in fantasy. But I think Kyle Pitts, for what's in this division, is the number 1 tight end, and definitely has the potential, all the potential to be a top 10 tight end in this league. The second one, I'm going with Hayden Hurst. There's not really any tight ends in this league, in this division that has accomplished more than Hayden Hurst has as far as yards, touchdowns, catches over his career. And last year, he definitely had some good yards, some good numbers with Cincinnati's offense. So let's go to the offensive line. My 2 tackles. First one, Tristan Wirfs. One of the best tackles of football. That's easily put. And then Ryan Ramczyk in New Orleans for my right tackle. My interior offensive line, Chris Lindstrom. Like I said, B. John Robinson is going to be the best running back or second best running back in that division. He'd probably be the best running back in the division, to be honest with you. It's going to be because of Chris Lindstrom and that offensive line. And Austin Corbett over there in Carolina is one of the good young guards. Center, Ryan Jensen. I think if he's not one, he's probably 2 or 3. He's a top 3 or 4. I just say top 5. I keep adding numbers to it, don't I? He's probably top 5. He's definitely a top 5 center in the league. Since he's been over there in Tampa. And I see no reason for him not to be that again. So that's your offensive line. My tackles were Tristan Wirfs, my guard, and Ron Ramchak. My guards were Austin Corbett and Chris Lindstrom. And at center, I had Ryan Jensen. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball and pick up a couple edge rushers. Reliable, Cam Jordan, defensive end. He had 8.5 sacks last year. So definitely want him coming off the edge. Brian Burns had 12.5 sacks last year. Definitely coming off my edge as well from all NFC South. Shaq Barrett was hurt last year. He had 3 sacks, but when he's healthy and he's right, he can put up double-digit sacks. So I got Shaq Barrett as well. And again, another old reliable Justin Houston. He had 9.5 sacks last year, and I think he could potentially get another double-digit sack total this year. Still got a little bit of gas left in the tank, and playing with Brian Burns and mentoring him, Brian Burns on your other side, I got Justin Houston putting up big numbers in the NFC South. For your defensive tackles, Big Vita Vea. When he was at Washington, I said this dude is a house on legs. Big Vita Vea is crazy in the middle of a defense. And with Vita Vea, I'm pairing him up with Derek Brown. Derek Brown at Auburn, same thing. Boy could move. Especially for their size. Both of them got wheels. All right, let's go to the linebacker spot. Let's not even play around. Both for Tampa Bay linebackers are in the top 5 linebackers individually. So 2 of them on one team. Bring me both of them, Devin White and Levante David. All right, let's look at the corners real quick. Marshawn Lattimore is going to be my number 1 corner in the NFC South. J.C. Horn is going to be the other corner for the NFC South. And Carlton Davis in the slot for me for this NFC South team. And then last but not least, the safeties. Antoine Winfield Jr. It's going to be one of my safeties. I think he's a top 10 safety in the league. And he makes plays on the ball, big hitter. I like Antoine Winfield's game. Last safety, I'm going with Jesse Bates. Just came over from Carolina. I think he's another top 10 safety as well. I'm sorry, came over from Cincinnati, not Carolina. Came over from Cincinnati. One of the best ball hawking safeties, best free safety, one of the best free safeties in the league. I think, like I said, he's a top 10 corner. I'm going with that. It's my all NFC South team. And like I said, I'm going to go for coach, head coach. I'm going to get Todd Bowles. He did win a division last year. So Todd Bowles is going to be my head coach of that division for that team. Offensive coordinator. I know he just got over to Carolina, but Frank Wright put in work, got a Super Bowl ring with the Eagles. and he's taking his offense to Carolina with the rookie. So we're going to see what they can do. And then defensive coordinator, I'm going with Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen, who's the head coach for the Saints. And when Sean Payton was there, he was a defensive coordinator. So I'm going with that as the coaching staff. So it's a really quick show today. Again, I'm be back on here on Tuesday to talk about who got cut, talk about college football, who I'm looking at for college football. Who should you scout for the NFL for your team? I'll talk about that on Tuesday. And again, follow me on Instagram and X, which was formerly Twitter, at Al_U_bugging. Be blessed, be productive, be more. We love you. We out.